Blomidon is where Glooscap was created. Lightning struck the sands of Glooscap the first time and created the outline of Glooscap. Struck the second time and he could move, the third time and he could get up and walk, and he walked around the earth. So that happened at Blomidon, and then he came back to sleep. So that if you look at Blomidon, some say that's him sleeping there. So if you look at it, it looks like a person laying on their belly having a snooze. So that's very important to our legends and our culture.
Excited to tell you guys a little bit of our community. And one of the things, I guess, when I first got in as the chief in April of 2012, one of the platforms on which we, new council, got in on, we talked about, transparency, accountability, economic development, more jobs, a healthier community. And so that was kind of the stuff that we campaigned on, and that's what we heard. So one of the things that we thought about when we got in was, first of all, is how are we going to do this? How are we going to meet these objectives that people wanted? So one of the things, we knew that we wanted to do more community development. And of course, in order to do more community development, we also knew that we needed more economic development in order to try to look at our businesses and gain more revenue and look at more opportunities. So what we did is, after our first year being council, we thought we would put together an economic development corporation. And one of the reasons we needed an economic development corporation was we as political people felt that, hey, we're politicians, we're not necessarily business people. We had a few businesses operating at the time. We had a gas bar, we had a gaming facility, we had some fisheries, and I think that was pretty well it when we first started. Within our year and a half or whatever in our term, that's when we got together and we talked about this. We hired an economic development officer to look at setting up a development corporation. So while he was doing that, within the first year and a half, we also needed to know that it was important to have a strategy, in a sense of not only a community strategy where we wanted to go as a community, we also needed to know where we wanted to go on the business side of economic development. So we ended up putting a strategy together first, and then we ended up forming a board to run our businesses. So one of the first things, of course, we also had to do was do an assessment on all our businesses to ensure that our businesses are operating, at 100%. And if there's issues, concerns that could be identified with our own staff, it would be done. So that's kind of what we did. So as a result of that, there's been lots of new developments. of the new development which we have had the opportunity to do is we had an opportunity to buy 28 acres or 26 acres of land out on the highway off of exit 8A. We were looking at a development there, and the question was, of course, what do we do? How are we going to do it? What do we need? So that's when within our Development Corporation board, we talked about the next stages. What are we going to do now we have the land? We're really excited to say that now we have, the plans all set. We've got the road put in. We called it Sweetgrass Road. It's in the development stage. One of the other things we're looking at is a market. We have our own fishery business. So we want to also look at possibility of having our fish sold out of the new specialty shop in market that we're looking at. Also down the road, in part of our phase 3, we're looking at a cultural center. And that particular project, we're really getting excited about it, even though we're looking, 3-4 years down the road. But there's lots of opportunities there.
Here is the atrium, so it's going to be all nice and glassed in, and then you go into the convenience store or the coffee outlet. There will be murals or Mi'kmaq art in there, and people will be able to sit and enjoy. We just want people to know you're stopping here for convenience, but we also want you to know where you are and that you're on Mi'kmaq territory.
But as far as the community, as I mentioned, it's very important that it's not all about economic development. It's also about looking at the community in the sense of having community development. So one of the things we're looking at is because of our old gas bar and gaming facility, It's located on an area that was with a lot of fill. So eventually what is happening, of course, is the area is starting to sag. So as a result, because of the weight of the machines and the building itself, we have to look at a new location. So for safety reasons and for long-term purposes, we're looking at putting up a new gas burn. We've already identified an area at the end of our community in which, I'm glad to say that we're looking at building a new gas barn, a new gaming, and a new little restaurant there, and we're hoping to have that done and completed by the end of this year. We're hoping to have a New Year's party in our new facility, so we're pretty excited about that. The other thing in which we're also looking at, as I mentioned, it's so important for community development. We're looking at a new community hall. What we have now, our existing community hall we have, is not large enough for all the activities and stuff we were doing. One thing in regards to the administrative side, we're running out of office space. So as a result, we're looking at taking our existing building and putting offices in that. But as a result, when we do that, we take away from where we have all our community meetings, all our community activities. So next to the present community hall, we're looking at building a new facility, which will include a daycare for children that is coming up. Also a library and another facility to hold our meetings. And that particular building, we're thinking we should be able to hold about 350 people in that building. So we're pretty excited about that. And as I mentioned, the existing facility, we're putting in several offices. And as we grow, of course, we have no place for chief and council to meet. So one of the things is to ensure that we have a chief and council chambers. Not only that, we're also looking at a new playground. We're pretty excited about that. We put it out for some tenders for the children because our community is small, as it's been mentioned. And besides the playground, we also had an opportunity that our new Glooscap Landing, we had an opportunity to take a lot of fill from that particular area and bring it up to our community and put a lot of fill in. So we're looking at putting up a new powwow grounds. We've never had a powwow grounds, and we've never actually had a powwow in our community, only because our community is so small. So now that we've had an opportunity to bring the fill up, now we can look at putting in new powwow grounds. We also are putting in a new trail system throughout the community. But not only our community here, but as I mentioned, that 28 acres we have around the landing, we're looking at a trail out there that will incorporate the whole landing itself. And one of the things, of course, is out at the Glooscap Landing, we want to ensure it's not just a stop-off place, it's going to be a destination. But overall, we're a small community, we're moving forward. We also have a beautiful health center here that offers lots of programs for community members. We also have a chapel in the community and an outside exercise equipment for members.
So we're doing comprehensive community planning, which is a first for Glooscap First Nation. And the plan is to bring everybody together to work on the 7 sections of the community plan. So we've created this logo that represents community. So Ilnuigati is how you pronounce it in Mi'kmaq, and that means First Nation community. We're also going to be adding Glooscap in on the top, which shows the connectedness and family. This logo was designed from 4 words: community, Glooscap, family, and future.
I am the Community Economic Development Officer here at Glooscap Ventures, and what I do is I help our community members achieve their entrepreneurship dream. So that may include helping them develop a market plan, develop a business plan, I can also help them seek financing or funding through organizations such as the BDC, the Unawig Development Group, local banks and credit unions. I also connect our community members with business training organizations in the area, such as the Acadia Entrepreneurship Center. We also have our own in-house business loan program that we have for community members to apply to, and it's a business loan up to $5,000 that they can apply to, and which is great because it removes a lot of barriers when it comes to applying to local banks and local credit unions. So quite a few community members have already taken advantage of this in-house loan program that we have. We also have two scholarships we call the Solar Up scholarships. So that's each scholarship of $2,500 for a total of $5,000 that we give out to community members on an annual basis for them to go to post-secondary education. Projects we have coming up for community economic development include we have a high-speed internet coming to our community for the first time coming this fall, which is great. We also have a youth entrepreneurship camp we have on an annual basis. We also have multiple community members who already own their own businesses. For a very small community, we have a lot of community members that have their own business, such as we have community members that own their own greenhouses, we have members that own their own tire shops, we have community members that are our own consultants, we have community members that own their own custom kitchen businesses. We also have a community member that has their own therapeutic petting farm, as well as, of course, we have multiple community members that have their own traditional craft making.
As mentioned, we're not a very big community. We have about 29 units in the community. Since we came in as a council in 2012, we're averaging 2 to 3 houses a year. So the need is there for sure. We take the opportunity to tap into as much as we can, to ensure that there's facilities and housing available for our membership. Some of the activities was, I counted, I remember last year reporting at our annual meeting. We have an annual meeting every year, every August. We invite all our community members to the meeting. And through that, of course, is we go over the operations of what we are doing as a chief and council. We always report back to almost like a report card type thing in regards to the strategy of the community, so that the communities can see that we're working towards the strategy in which we created about 4 years ago as a council. So there's lots of stuff happening in our small community. Last year, I think I counted about 141 activities that was happening within our community itself.
Yeah, what I'm really excited about is that here it is, there's a small group of people here are going to be able to create something that's going to benefit the whole community, and more than the whole community, the whole region in West Hants and Windsor, Hansport. So that's the most exciting thing for me. It's an opportunity to create wealth and prosperity for the community. So that's very exciting.
Well, I've had direct experience with not only the Glooscap Council, but also the board of directors for Glooscap Ventures. And collectively, what I view, as, being from another community, another Mi'kmaq community, is a community that is very progressive, that in terms of making the tough decisions that need to be made as it relates to community matters, but while at the same time holding steadfast on this vision for an improved life, welfare, and health within their community. So I get to see that in a variety of ways. I get to see it through my deliberations with the chief, but also within the context of the board, which is, I must say, quite innovative, progressive, and forward-thinking in their approach. Doing it in a way that sort of solidifies and holds this vision of community, which I find is quite strong here in Glooscap, has been a really enjoyable experience for me.
And I'm the chief of Glooscap First Nation, and today we're located here in Glooscap, our community, and today you'll be able to go around and take a look at. We have fun day today, so I think we have had a good turnout. We got lots of food for them, and I guess later on I'm going to be one of the individuals that's supposed to go in the dunk tank. They always look forward to that. We want to make sure that our community is open. And the First Nation people across the country, we're open. We talk about truth and reconciliation. You know, we talk about our treaties of 1752 about peace and friendship. And that's what it's all about.